So, Dr. Brown, I know we had talked right around the time that the calendar flipped, and the day I talked to you, you were driving through the mountains. I'm wondering, do you have my jar of moonshine?
Unfortunately, I was not able to secure your moonshine this trip to Kentucky, but definitely the next trip, I'm going to get you that moonshine because you talked about it with great passion and conviction. So I got to make that happen for you.
I mean, it's not every day you meet somebody who's familiar with the mountains of Tennessee and Kentucky, so you got to take advantage of it.
Yes. And I understand you all had someone else that talked about she has a new liquor company. I was looking at some of the people, some of your previous guests, and I was really impressed with her story.
Yeah, yeah, we've had
Yes,
in that
Fawn.
industry.
Yeah, it was Fawn Weaver with Uncle Nearest. Shout out to Uncle Nearest. Largest black-owned spirit company in the U.S. And they're doing some amazing things. I think they even came out with some new flavor profiles back in 2022. So
And I
she's
believe
doing
Yes,
some
they just bought
amazing
a
things.
bank. They just
she
bought a
really
bank too.
is. Salute to my sister from another mister. I'm so proud of her.
Welcome back to the Vision Lab podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside my co host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. The Vision Lab is the official growth mindset podcast for all visionaries worldwide. We're showing mad love to the cigar industry as well. Yo, Mo, who do we have on the show today?
Cuff, today's guest is a native of Lexington, Kentucky. She is a corporate teacher, a corporate coach, a motivational speaker. She has her own consulting firm. She is a motivational speaker. She is a true Jane of all trades. Please welcome the incomparable Dr. Ona Love Brown to the Vision Lab podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an
Thank you so
honor to
Hello,
be here.
hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be on the show.
So grateful for you to jump into the lab with us. We're very excited, especially on the cusp of Dr. Martin Luther King Day. I mean, such a revolutionary individual that's done so much for so many. As
Mhm.
we come into Tuesday, but want to make sure that we have a shout out. And you, obviously being from Atlanta, I'm sure you get to see the Mecca, right, on how deep those roots actually go.
Yes, definitely. And it's an interesting time. We're still at the beginning of the year, and we have a lot of people setting intentions of what they want to create. And we're stepping into Black History Month. We have all of these powerful icons that have blazed the trail for us to be able to be where we are at this point in life, to be looking good, smelling good, and doing what we love to do. And so it's really about people stepping into a mindset of how can they begin to create the reality that they want for themselves, and what does that look like. I think that they said that Dr. Albert Einstein said that imagination is greater than knowledge. And we know that, but oftentimes we lose that because we get older. And as we get older, we get away from our imagination that we had as children. Because when I was a little girl, when we were in a car, we would be riding, we say, okay, this is my house, or that's my car, or I own this building. We always were able to imagine different things. And then when life starts to hit you and knock you down, and you start to go through disappointments and challenges and setbacks and different things that happen, you get further and further away from that imagination, which is a powerful gift. And so, one of the things that I do, having coached since 1995, before everyone and their mother became a coach, I help people to tap into that child within themselves and begin to imagine without restriction, without fear, without limitation, without self doubt, or even lack of worthiness. What is it that you really want? And how are you going to begin to create it? And what does that look like when you start to tap into that gift called imagination and create the reality that you deserve to get in this life? Because you don't get the life that you deserve, you get the life that you design.
I absolutely love that. I love that, Dr. Brown. And since you mentioned it, obviously this is the third week of the year. A lot of New Year's resolutions, or hey, I'm going to be a different person this year. As we continue to forge into 2023, why do you think at large, right? Why do you think at large we have a propensity to kind of regress and go back to our old selves?
I think we go back to ourselves because humans are creatures of behavior patterns, and it's comfortable, and that's what we know. And oftentimes that's all we really believe is possible for ourselves, because we haven't learned how to tap into the possibilities of life. And we're taught more about our limitations than we are taught about our potential, our unlimited potential. And it's a lot of programming, a lot of fear, a lot of things that happen along the journey of life, that if we don't take the time to really work on ourselves, to get in the mirror with ourselves, to tap into the TheVisionLab and do the great work that you all are doing here on a regular basis, then chances are we're going to keep recreating the same year and the same challenges and the same situations and circumstances with different faces and different places. But it's basically like Groundhog's Day. It's the same thing happening over and over, because nothing changes until you change.
You mentioned Albert Einstein, and one of my favorite quotes from him, Steve Harvey says it all the time, is imagination is a preview of life's coming attractions. And as we talk about, hey, I want to develop into this new person, it starts with that imagination, right? I want to be better than I was yesterday, better than I was the year before, better than I was 5 years ago. And it starts with that imagination. I love what you said earlier, tapping into, that childhood version of yourselves. Where do we kind of fall off of that jovial child mentality that everything is possible, and we kind of condense our lens or our perspective on only what we see and what we know?
It comes from us, just as we said earlier, not processing the work that has to be done as human beings that are here having this spiritual experience. We have to do the work. We have to push up the sleeves. We can't, unfortunately, in this society, we've been taught in this Western society that we can basically do work Monday through Friday, a little family on Saturday, and try to seek God's face on Sunday. But it's not, there's nothing segmented about our reality. Everything is holistic. All of it is connected. All of it is integrated into one. And so when you have challenges in your personal life, it can impact and affect your success, your career. When you have challenges with your questioning your spirituality or where you sit with God, it can affect and impact how you show up as a father or as a husband or as a wife or as a mother. So it's all one. There's really no separation. And so finding ways to really look at what are the things that I've been through right now on the timeline of my life, and what were some of the blows that I had to endure? What were some of the disappointments that I took on? What were some of the things that kind of crushed my spirit or broke my heart or knocked the wind out of me and had me basically on the canvas of life trying to figure out how to get back up again? And when we look at those things, what were the lessons that were there? What were some things that I can take away from that? How can I grow and become better? And how can I begin to have courage again to get back in the ring and not live from a place of fear or doubt or limitation? That's, I think, what keeps us from really tapping into our greatness and our next level of power, is because we haven't done the work to deal with some of the things that we've had to grow through in this thing called life. And you don't want to just go through it, you want to grow through it.
I love that. I love that. When you're talking about the spiritual or holistic, for those that aren't spiritual, right? And tapping into that version of yourself to get away from that fear, that anxiety. Mo and I talk about this all the time, and that's doing the work. which is why we call our show the Vision Lab, right? So what does the lab look like, or what type of things need to take place in the lab so that you can really tap into that spiritual version of yourself and be more powerful?
That's a great question, Cuff. The reality is it's different things for different people. So I have a body of work called Discover the Greatest You Ever. And one of the things that I put in there in a particular chapter was the importance of knowing your smile makers, because everyone has smile makers, right? So smile makers to me might be having time with the ocean. I call the ocean my boyfriend, or being able to play in the floor with my nephews and nieces, because the family wants to talk about politics and religions and get into all the stuff. And I'm like, just pass me that Lego, pass me that G.I. Joe. I'm having a ball with the children, right? That's a smile maker for me. It's also being able to spank some people in Scrabble or some spades, and I talk serious trash and they know it's going to happen before I let them know that the spanking is about to happen. That's a smile maker for me. Being able to go to an African dance class or a salsa class and move my hips, that's a smile maker for me. So you have to know what your smile makers are for yourself, and then you have to schedule them, put them on your calendar, just like you do everything else that's a priority. And oftentimes we don't prioritize our own healing, our own replenishing. And I've been saying for years, nationally and internationally, since 1995, you can't pull anything out of an empty bag. So you got to replenish yourself. You have to pour into yourself and be able to have something like Iyanla Vanzant said, that you don't give to the place of depletion, you give from your overflow, because you filled yourself up to the point to where you're overflowing. So that's a part of being in that space of knowing your smile makers, putting them on your calendar, and honoring yourself and loving yourself and respecting yourself enough to give yourself what you need to be at your best at all times.
It's well, first of all, you're speaking our language on so many levels, and we're about to really open this thing up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't help it, but before I form my thought, Cuff, I feel like you got one more left in you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, he knows me well. All right, so these are, the answers sound poetic, right? They sound very like we know these things, right? We know that we should pour into ourselves. We know that we can't necessarily pour from an empty cup. We know that we should self-love, and all that sounds fantastic, Dr. Brown. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of it, right? What if you're struggling and you've been on this constant wheel of struggle, this constant wheel of perceived failure, this constant wheel of I can't make things happen, right? There are people that are in desperate and trite situations, and then they hear this wonderful soliloquy about believing in yourself and having an imagination and getting back to the child, and it's all correct, right? 100%. Mm-hmm. But talk to those that are in the struggle, in the plight right now.
Right. And the thing is, if you're in the struggle right now, the reason why most people don't get what they need to get out of that struggle is because their vibration and their frequency is so low. And literally they think that it requires them to go do something deep and profound. If you just raise your energy, if you just raise your consciousness, if you just raise your vibration, and like I said, it could be something simple like going to a park where there's drumming and you just dance and participate for an hour, you could come out of that park with $1 million idea. According to statistics, each and every one of us gets somewhere between $2 to $3 million ideas a year, but we don't move on them, or we don't pay attention to them, or we're not tapped in because we're too stressed out, we're too overwhelmed, we're too overworked, we're too underpaid, we're spending too much money trying to fill ourselves up with things and situations that are basically putting us back into the same cycle of brokenness and brokenness and fear and limitation. And so a lot of it, there's a saying that my dad has been saying for years, and I love it. He says, wherever you find yourself in life, at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there. And I remember when I first
Wow.
heard that, I didn't like that. I was like, wait a
Wow.
minute now.
Hold on. No. Time out. Say it again. Say that again, please. And this is, for those who are not paying attention, right? The owner, you are the daughter of the one and only Les Brown, but please say that again.
Yes. Wherever you find yourself in life, at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there.
Woo.
Right? It's like,
There's
ouch.
so much,
Whenever I say
so
that, when I
much
would say
meat.
that before audiences, I don't care what country it was, they would be like, ouch, ouch.
Yeah, that one stings. You talk about, spanking people. That's a spanking right there.
Right. And
There's
so
so
that's one
much.
of the things that I do as a coach is getting us to a place of ownership, taking ownership for, excuse me, our contribution to where we are. Now, some things, you can't necessarily help that you maybe were born in a family that's kind of toxic or negative or abusive or things like that, where you showed up in your family, spiritually, they say that people that's on another level say we choose that though, because we know the journey that we're going to take and how that's going to help us to become greater. We're going to tap into our light on a different level. We're going to have a different level of empathy and understanding and basically be better beings because of what we've had to grow through. So there are some people that'll say on a spiritual level that you chose that as well before you even came into the existence. So we don't have to go that deep down the rabbit's hole. Basically, beyond childhood, there are choices that you make each and every day in your life. And all of these choices are on a timeline that are bringing you closer to where you want to be or further away from where you want to be. And so being consciously conscious of those choices that you're making every day when we get up, I can choose to hit the alarm, the snooze button, or I can choose to get up. I can choose to make up my bed, or I can choose not to make up my bed. I can choose to hit the gym, work out, or I can choose not to hit the gym and work out. I can choose to have a healthy protein smoothie, or maybe something that's going to give my body life, or I can choose to fry something like, what people fry. I don't fry nothing in the morning, but I know people fry things, pigs and chickens and things like that. So whatever you decide to do, you can clog your arteries if you want to, but no, there is a consequence to that. Every single thing that you choose to do at some point in time, it's going to take you on a journey, either closer to where you want to be or further away from where you want to be. So we have to get to a point where we become very in tune with ourselves and very intentional with our living and utilize wisdom as we are growing through this thing called life. And we are here to basically be in the lab of life to develop ourselves into our highest possible being, the greatest version of ourselves.
So let me ask you this then, Ona, as I push the ball forward and switch gears for a second. You do this both when it comes to on a corporate level, as far as corporate coaching, I guess the term I keep using, right? But you've talked to a who's who of Fortune 500 companies and the CEOs and the powers that be in regards to how they can be better, which in turn will make their companies better. And you've also done it with people on a personal level as well. From your experience, if you will, what have you seen that stops us as individuals and as CEOs and business owners and employees and employers, so on and so forth? What do you see that stops us from staying in that high vibrational state, right? Because you talked about smile makers. Like, okay, if I'm an employer, I can do stuff to make my employees a little bit happier, but every day can't be playground day at work. And if I'm from a personal level, we all know some days you have good days, you have bad days. So how do people maintain vibrating at a higher frequency to get to where they're ultimately trying to get to?
Okay, good question. I appreciate that, Mo. One of the things that we do after we tap into our creativity, right? You got to be able to understand, what are your unique gifts? What are your unique talents? A lot of us oftentimes are off center and we're not in our place of power because we're not really utilizing our divine gifts that we showed up with. We haven't tapped into our purpose for being here. So if you're going to a job, just over broke, which is something you hate, and you're not even bringing out your greatness and your talents and your gifts, you're not passionate about it, it's not something you enjoy, then chances are that's going to have an impact on you. You think, oh, it's okay, it's all right, I can take it, I can just suffer through for a while. But understand that every single day that you call yourself suffering through is impacting you. It's having an effect on who you are and how you're showing up. It's bringing down your own self-value. It's bringing down your own self-worth. And so if you're not in a place where you know what that talent is, then you need to take some time to discover that. You need to uncover that. You need to get in tune with your talents, because that's going to help you very quickly to be able to start to generate multiple streams of income, so that you're not talking about the money is no longer an issue, because you found something that you enjoy doing. You found something that you're passionate about. You found something that you'd be willing to do because you love it so much, you'd be willing to do it for free. And you're so good at it, people will be willing to pay you for it. And you're willing to put in those 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talked about in the in the book, Blink, when he talks about if you put in over 10,000 hours or something, you've reached a mastery level. So now you're going to rise up and become an expert, because you got in a place where you're digging deep instead of wide, and you're not all over the place confusing movement with progression. So these are baby steps that you can take. It comes from a body of work that I created. I actually did a recent ebook on it called Maximize Your Talents and Multiply Your Money. Because if you're not maximizing your talents, then you're not multiplying your money. If you're not multiplying your money, then chances are you're frustrated and you're not living out your true purpose. And so these are things that can help you to get out of that hole that you find yourself in. It's the baby steps. And oftentimes, we don't want to take baby steps. We live in a microwave society. We want to have everything like yesterday now. And especially the new millennials, they don't want to work for anything over time, but baby steps are very important. If, according to statistics, one baby will fall over 200 to 300 times before learning to stand or walk. And never do we say to this baby, maybe you should give up on this walking thing. Maybe it's just not for you. What do we say? Come on, baby. You can do it. It's all
That's
right. Come on.
Yeah. So,
and that's what we have to say to ourselves, because unfortunately, most of us have an inner critic that has a heyday with our self-esteem and our self-worth. And so this negative inner critic is so toxic. Your inner conversation is very important, and most people are not even aware to listen to it. But your negative inner conversation can tear you down and tell you that this is where you're always going to be, and you'll never amount to anything. And you're just like your dad, or just like your mom, or just like they told you would be, that you'll never be anything. And we start to believe these thoughts that come in our head. And according to the psychologists, we get somewhere around 70,000 thoughts a day. And we have to understand that every thought we get is not true. It's a thought. And so when you can step outside of that and become the witness and the observer, you get an opportunity to see which thoughts I'm going to really focus on, which thoughts I'm going to resonate with, and which thoughts I get to cancel and not give power over me.
There's so much to unpack, and Dr. Brown, you're hitting on all cylinders. You're on fire, as the young folks say, right? But let's say I'm a 48-year-old mother of three, single mother of three, and I'm scraping everything together just to put clothes on the backs of my kids and a roof over their head. I'm not getting any child support or any help, right? Working multiple jobs. I don't even know my talent at this point. You know what I mean? I want to maximize my talent. I want to be able to multiply my money. I don't have time because I've got all these things for my children, right? talk to that mom that's 48 years old, single mom, 48 years old of 3, and how can she find herself, even with the baby steps, right? And the self-speak. Talk to her from a pragmatic perspective.
One of the things that mother is going to get to do, she doesn't have to do, but one of the things she gets to do is to find some people that she can surround herself with. She's going to have to create a team. My dad has another saying that I love, and I'm a big fan of my father's, and I know all of his quotes, and he gets upset because when he starts a quote, I finish his quote with him. But one of the things he always says, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help and don't stop until you get it. So most of us don't ask for help because of why? Ego, which is edging God out. Pride cometh before fall. We don't even go to say and knock on that door or seek and find ways to get with people. I can remember helping people in that same situation where they felt like they had nothing and no one. And then all of a sudden, when they shifted their mind and they were willing to get their ego out of the way and willing to get their pride out of the way, and they were able to ask people, hey, would you be willing to help me with my children while I'm studying because I want to get this class? Or would you be willing to help me because I got to get this second job? Definitely. I would take pleasure. Or to go to someone who is in a place of power and say, hey, I would like to see how I can help your business. These are some things that I observed that are some gaps. This is some ways that I can work. I'll take, minimum wage, or if you just let me work here 2 weeks for free, I'm going to show you my value. And then after that, we'll talk about my pay. Okay, wow, you're serious. Okay, you're hungry. Okay, this is a way I can support your vision. People love to support visions when it's clear, when it's defined, when someone is hungry, when they're ready and they're willing to push up their sleeves and do some work. And that is one of the things that I think oftentimes we don't want to do because we want everything to be simple. And it's not going to be simple. We've been watching too much lie vision. It's a bunch of lies because everything gets solved in 20 to 30 minutes. But life is truly a marathon. And we've heard that, right, from the brother Nipsey, right? So we know that it's about being able to do the marathon and not getting in a place of being stagnant and surrounding yourself with positive energy. If you have some toxic, draining, negative, just people around you that are pulling down on your energy and taking you away from what it is that you really want in life, then that can also be a hindrance to your progression. It can also block your blessings. It can also keep you from seeing different opportunities. You can't even hear the still small voice within because you got somebody in your ear talking to you in a negative, toxic, draining way and telling you how the man is holding you down and there's nothing possible. This is the way it's always going to be. So you got to do a purging, clean house, and then select your people that you have around you. Erykah Badu said, pick your friends like you pick your fruit, right? So select who you have in your inner circle. And if this one knows how to make money, and this one knows how to organize, and this one knows how to tap into education, and this one shows you how to keep your household together, and maybe this one is very maternal instinct and can help you with your children, then you get your tribe. You call forth your team and get your tribe around you, and don't be prideful, and do what you need to do to rise up. And don't forget those that were there for you in your time of need.
I absolutely love it, Dr. Brown. And the reason why I wanted to phrase these type of questions, because I want it to be real, right? Because it's not just surface level, and it's not, smoke and mirrors. Like, these are real things that once you implement into your life, can be absolute, not only game changers, but life changers, right? And so what I hear you saying to everyone out there is, in a polite way, is we don't have to make excuses, right? And there's a saying that I go by that is, there's no such thing as unsolved problems. It's just unfound solutions. And so that's what I hear you saying. Yeah,
I like that.
You can tell your dad to use that too if you like.
Right. We'll give you credit the first 3 times.
There you go.
So in the spirit of the show, and we were going to ask it later on, but we're rolling. What does the lab look like for one Dr. Ona Love Brown? You spend a lot of your time talking to people about their labs and advising them on how they should, try to, set things up in their own lives and their businesses and whatnot. But I mean, this is the Vision Lab. So what does the lab look like for Dr. Ona Love Brown? When you close out all the distractions and you find 30, 45 minutes on your calendar late at night before you go to bed, like what does your lab look like?
Oh, that's good. So I'm big on a lot of different self-development tools that I've been working with for years. I'm big on meditation. I love meditating. I was trained by a powerful meditation guru that's no longer with us, but he was a powerful blessing in my life. And he taught me how to be able to go into that secret, still place, what I call the upper room, and to replenish yourself. He called it the fourth dimension. And once you can tap into that aspect of yourself, you can replenish yourself all the way down to the cellular level. And you can help to really deal with some of the blows and the challenges and the stressors and the vicissitudes of life that we all must face. So I'm big on meditation. I also am big on journaling. I've been journaling off and on, since the 90s. So I have all types of journals where I basically just write out different insights, different revelations, different things that I observe about myself, different things that I wish I had done differently, different what I call mistakes. And insights and things like that. So journaling is very powerful. And also just gratitude lists. I write out things that I'm grateful for, from the bird that I hear in the morning serenading me outside of my window when I wake up, to the sun shining on my face, to being able to have a hot warm bath with candles and incense and beautiful music, to being able to stand and deliver a presentation to thousands, something I never thought I would be able to do. I ran from speaking until it caught me, because I saw myself as a shy, introverted person. And it was something that basically my dad tricked me into that got me on stage. And so to be able to do that, I'm basically an introvert who has extrovert tendencies, but to be able to stand before thousands and to uplift them and to encourage them and to empower them, and have people come to you and basically cry and say, "You spoke into my life. I needed that. That was for me. You don't understand. This is what I needed to hear today. Thank you so much." That's something that you really can't put into words. You can't really put a price tag on that. That's something that's really fulfilling for the soul. So I'm grateful for so many things. I live a life of gratitude. And so when I have my quiet time at the top of the day, because the top of the day sets the tone for the entire day. So I start at the top of the day and I give the first probably 45 minutes to an hour. And if I really am rolling, I give 2 hours to myself to just replenish, to meditate, to pray, maybe to do some yoga, maybe to listen to a TED Talk, or maybe to take a long walk in nature. Whatever I can do that my spirit wants in that moment, I just pour myself with it. I pour into myself. And then from there, jump into everything that I have to do for my coaching clients, for my projects, for different things that I'm working on, for my mom, for my dad, for my grandmother who's 98, whatever I have to do. All of us have obligations and things that we're working on, but I always say, make sure you pour into yourself first. And I used to think it was very selfish when you get on the plane and they would say, if by chance we lose altitude, put the oxygen on yourself first. And I'm thinking, these people are so selfish and cold. I'm not listening to them. I'm going to help the elders and the children first, and then help myself. And then finally, one day it dawned on me, if you lose consciousness, Ona, who can you help?
Who can?
No
If you can't
one.
help, if you can't help yourself, you can't help nobody else.
Right. So that's what I teach people, put the oxygen on yourself first. And don't feel, I used to feel selfish about that and feel that that was, too much. And I was really not worthy of that. But I understand that I'm very worthy of that. And that's a beautiful thing, because the more that I have for myself, the more I can give to my projects, to my clients, to my family, to those that I love, to my friends, because I'm in a place of fullness.
So you mentioned the word projects. We're going to get into it here in just a second, but you're so comfortable speaking, and clearly you are full of all type of gems. How was Dr. Ona Love Brown tricked into being a speaker by her dad? I would love to hear how that happened.
Okay, I can't give you the whole story, but I'll give you some other story. Okay, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So, my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer years ago, and he was given 3 to 5 years to live. And the doctor said, you should do what you need to do to get your life in order, because you're not going to be here. So I said, come on, Dad, I want you to come and live with me. And I gave him the master bedroom. At this time, I was living in Chicago on Lakeshore Drive. I gave him my master bedroom. I took the guest bedroom, and we went on this journey of healing. And so I created an atmosphere of healing. I took away the phone. I blocked all of the vultures that were just, trying to get what they could get from Mr. Brown mentally, emotionally, financially. And then I basically started playing healing music, and I started juicing organic vegetables, fruits and vegetables every single day. And we started feeding life to the cells instead of death to the cells. And we basically if you set the body up to heal, it will heal itself. So he started healing and getting better, even though the doctors told him that he was going to be leaving. And so during that time, this is a man who's normally all over the world: Germany on Monday, LA on Tuesday, New York on Wednesday, Mexico on Thursday, and back in Miami on Friday. So for him to be bedridden and dealing with healing, he didn't know what to do, because it was so much idle time. So as a result of that, he started eavesdropping on my phone calls, because he was just listening to my phone calls. And all these calls I was getting, I was encouraging people, uplifting them. And so he's listening to the calls, and I didn't know it. So one day he said, "Oh no, I want you to come into the room." I said, "Anything, Dad. You can talk to me about anything. What is it?" He said, well, I've been eavesdropping on your phone calls." I said, "Is that right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Why would you do that?" He said, "Because I was bored and I didn't have nothing else to do." I said, "Okay." He said, "And as a result of me being nosy, I made an amazing discovery, Ona." I said, "What is that?" He said, "You are a powerful speaker and a powerful coach. You're just using the telephone as your microphone." I said, "What you talking about, Willis?" He said 98.9% of the people that call here, you uplift them, you encourage them, you give them methods and techniques to take their lives to the next level. Only you can do what I do. You're doing it every single day. You're just doing it on the telephone. And I said, no, that's not me. I said, I know who I am. I'm your number one salesperson in the back of the room. I negotiated your first highest paid international contract. I do the research on the corporations and lay out an outline for your presentation so that you can get a standing ovation. I am behind the scenes. I am not someone who's supposed to be on stage. That's not me. He said, "Yes, it is." I said, "No, it's not." He said, "Yes, it is." I said, "No, it's not." Finally, he realized I was a Brown and I wasn't going to back down. So he said, "You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not a speaker. Maybe you're not a coach, but you sure tell a great story." I said, "Well, I do tell a pretty good story now." He said, "Well, would you be willing to come on stage and just tell a story? You ain't got to speak or nothing." I said, "Okay, I'll come on stage and tell a story, but I'm not speaking." He said, "Okay, cool." And so that's how he tricked me. I got on stage, I'm telling a story. And as I'm telling the story, I'm seeing people, responding. Some people would laugh, some people would get like an aha moment. And then I kept just going up telling a story. One time I threw in a little statistic, and I backed it up with a scripture, and then I added a little quote, and I was just telling stories. And then one time I went up to tell a story, and I was supposed to be up maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and I had told stories and added points and threw in all the stuff, and I had been going for a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes strong. And he came up and he said, "Excuse me, can I get the mic?" I said, "Back up, brother, I'm on a roll."
I love it.
So yeah,
I love
that's
it.
how he tricked me into speaking. I didn't know it was a little deal that we made, that all I had to do was just come on stage and tell a story.
And you got that, you have that Les Brown laugh and smile, that beautiful infectious smile that lights up an entire room.
Thank you. Thank you. He says I look like him without a beard.
You do. You do. You do.
Y'all definitely family, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to wind things down, you mentioned the word project, and you had mentioned, your ebook a little while ago, and I know you're working on an offering, if you will, for the new year. We are open platform when it comes to our guests and what they're offering. Our visionaries, that's what we call our guests. So by all means, the floor is open. Can you talk to everybody about your ebook and your offering for the new year?
So the ebook is called Maximize Your Talents and Multiply Your Money. It's available on Amazon. So they just have to look for that, or look for Ona Brown, and they should be able to find that ebook and get it. I would strongly recommend it. It's got some powerful steps in it. I can give you a couple of those steps. One is basically to mentally create your new reality, magnify your talents, generate revenue options and audience, and then make your plan, prioritize it and act on it, then multiply and expand your vision, manage your obstacles and distractions and fears, and then manifest your winning team. Then you got to monitor your results, and the rest I'll leave for you when you get the book. So that's one thing. I want you to definitely get that, and get it like yesterday, because it will be very powerful for you. And also, I wanted to say this. I've been coaching since 1995. And one of my clients that I've been working with for the past 7 years, he's a billionaire. He has over 500 employees. He has the private jet, and he's the Rolls Royce fleets and all of that. He's living his best life. But here's the thing that I want to say to you about coaching. You want to find somebody that you can have a space where you can share what you're going through, where you are at this point in your life. And it's a very safe space. Most top CEOs, top executives, visionaries don't have a safe space like that for themselves. And then they get frustrated when their spouse can't be it, or they get frustrated when their friends can't be it. But they're not trained ears and trained eyes to help you to go into the trenches of your life and be able to raise the bar on you and show you where you might be playing small, show you where you might be able to get out of your way, and where you might be able to raise the bar on yourself. So understand that coaching is very powerful. It's just frustrating for me sometimes, because I feel like my industry, the self-development industry, has been hijacked by a lot of people that basically just want to make money, and they don't really care about the progression and the development and the growth of people. So for a couple of years, I didn't even tell people I was coaching, because I didn't even want to be under that same umbrella with those people. And so people had to find out by asking me or chasing me after I got on stage, like, you coach, don't you? I want you to coach me. I'm like, yeah, perhaps, because I don't coach everyone. I have a needs assessment that you have to go through, and it's these are questions that I've basically put together from reading a lot of psychology books and a lot of things that I've learned about human behavior throughout the years, and all of the hundreds of clients that I've had throughout the years. And I realized that everybody's not coachable. Everybody's not serious. And most people are not going to do the work, and they're not going to participate in their own rescue. And so that's why I don't even want to ever get with someone based upon, oh, they have money, or they, it's got to be, are you a good fit for me? Do we resonate with one another? Can you hold yourself to a higher standard? Will you be a person of integrity and honor your word and show up with the assignments that you've been given, and show up when you've been challenged to get out of your comfort zone, which is what Dr. Brian Tracy calls the danger zone. So I'm very adamant about people doing their due diligence and finding someone that resonates with them, and making sure that if they can get into that space of coaching or mentoring or counseling or therapy, whatever it looks like for you, get some help. Get some help. And ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help and don't stop until you get it. Okay. So with that being said, also, we're doing something. I normally work with what I call the up and out, but I love and have a big passion for the down and out as well. It's challenging for me to get to that demographic sometimes, because oftentimes they don't want to invest in themselves. And even if they do invest in themselves, they won't necessarily do the work. So I am pushing myself and being creative, and we're doing like basically a beta testing and a pilot to be able to do something that's very affordable. And it's an intensive that we're going to do called New Year, New You, because you'll never get a new year until you get a new you. And we are putting this out to do within the next couple of weeks at the beginning of the year. We want to make sure that we do this intensive work to get people in the mirror with themselves and to see how they can begin to live the life that they deserve and that they want. And so I'm excited about that. And if you want more information about that, I'm sure you'll probably have a link, or we'll have some sort of flyer. So if you feel me in your heart, and that was in the Bible, Jesus said, those that have ears, let them hear. Well, he wasn't talking about anatomy, because everyone probably had a set of ears. He was talking about those that feel me in their heart, those that resonate with me, those that are feeling what I'm saying. That's who he wanted to deal with, not just anyone, but those that were basically here with his mark on them. And so that's what I mean when I say, if you're feeling that, then definitely do something in honor of yourself. If you went and got the flat screen and you went and paid for the designer shoes, then do something for your growth, yourself, your development, and for you to be able to tap into your own inner greatness and power on the next level. That's what I'm here to help you to do. And so tap in with us, and thank you for being who you are, and thank you for this beautiful opportunity.
Listen, visionaries, you guys have heard it. Dr. Ona Love Brown, maximize your talents. This is on Amazon, Kindle version, right? So maximize your talents and multiply your money. Take your life to the next level. And she's got a brand new program that's very, very affordable. New Year, New You. So, Dr. Brown, before we land the plane, we ask all of our visionaries that first of all, thank you so much for jumping into the lab with us. How can our visionaries get a hold of you if they want to purchase the book or get the course or the coaching? How can they stay in contact with you through social media?
Yeah, so they could go to my gram, Own with Ona, OWNWITHONA, Own with Ona. Or they could go to my site. My website is worldimpactnow.co, not com.co. So worldimpactnow.co. And just, I'm easy to find. I'm Googleable. So, because I've been doing this a long time, and I'm a little older than I look. So tell them to tap in, and definitely let's stay connected. Let's build together. This is a powerful time that we're in right now. And so there's a lot of shifting that's going on. And as things are shifting, what happens is people get they feel a sense of anxiety and nervousness, because oftentimes the things that work for you in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s is not going to work for you in 23. So this is a time for you to be willing to give birth to your new self. This is a time for you to be willing to get out of your own way. This is a time for you to be willing to brush arms with some people that maybe you might feel a little intimidated by. You know, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough said, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need to get a new group. So I've been in rooms when I knew it was time for me to be more quiet than it was time for me to talk. And I was okay with that. So we have to be willing to get out of our own way and challenge ourselves and push ourselves so that we can be flexible and adaptable, and we can be able to basically flow and be in this place of flow and not be stagnant or stuck during this time. So I invite you to tap into your greatness and be willing to get out of your own way and get the help that you need in order to grow to your next level of power and success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we land the plane, we ask this question to every single one of our guests that jump into the lab. What is the long-term vision for one, Dr. Ona Love Brown?
The long-term vision, I'm going to really show my age now. So when I was little, there was a show called Fantasy Island that I used to love to watch. And there was this little man, he would say, the plane. So I see myself on this island with gray hair, and I've got this place where people fly in. They come out of the craziness of life, the hamster wheel of life. They might be top CEOs, top executives, but they come there to renew, to replenish, to restore, to recharge. And they get to just kind of like do a Selah, like, wow, you know, and they have healthy food. We have massage therapists, we have Reiki healers, we have meditation, we have yoga, we have all these different things, your coaching sessions, very intense, very powerful breakthroughs, insights, revelations. And so you come to this fantasy type of island where you get replenished, and it's your oasis. It's the Ona Brown oasis. And then once you get yourself recharged, just like we charge up our phones, then you jump back out into the game of life and take it to the next level.
Absolutely love it. The oasis of, what is it? Ona Oasis?
The Ona Brown oasis.
I love it. I love it.
Ona, if there was a imaginary round table, and you got to pick 5 people to be at your table, dead or alive, outside of, you know, Jesus or God, dead or alive, who would you want to be at your table?
Oh, that's good. First of all, my great grandmother, who I spent a lot of time with, and she used to teach me all these powerful things like everything that glitters ain't gold, and birds of a feather flock together, you know, and just little wisdom nuggets that she poured on me as a little girl while we were putting clothes on the line. Y'all don't know nothing about hanging up clothes on the line so they can dry, right?
I do.
Yeah, we're not that far removed.
Okay. So she was just amazing. Mama Corrine is her name, and I would just have to have one of her fresh homemade cakes and just sit and laugh and talk with her. And so she would be one. I think another one would be definitely, I had an opportunity, and I have to tell you guys about that another time, but I met the Honorable Nelson Mandela and in Cape Town, South Africa. And it was a whole miracle, the whole way I got there and was able to meet him backstage. And it was just amazing. But he had such a warm spirit. And when he looked into your eyes, it was like you were the only person in the world in that particular moment. And I always wonder if we had an opportunity to talk, what our conversation would have consisted of. So I love his, you know, if Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Absolutely, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. Like all of that is him. So I definitely got to talk to him.
That is my absolute favorite poem.
Are you serious?
100%. 100%. My absolute favorite poem. Yeah, for sure.
So I would say him. That leaves three more. Another one would be Miles Davis. I got a chance to see Miles Davis in concert before he passed. And what he did in that concert, I've never seen anything like it again in my life. It was just so magical. The way he played his horn, the way he went behind like this shadow casting thing, and he put his back to the audience, and you saw his profile and the notes he hit and the way he did his thing. It was just, you were just sitting there like, what is this? Like, what have we went into another dimension of space and time? So that was really amazing. So I've got Miles Davis, I've got Nelson Mandela, Mama Corrine. So I've got two more slots. I would say that fourth slot would have to go to, oh, she said, once someone shows you who they are, believe them. You know who I'm talking about? She's a poet and she passed.
Is that Dr. Maya?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Maya Angelou. I couldn't think of her name.
Dr. Maya Angelou. That'll be Dr. Maya Angelou. In my head, I was like, this gotta be her. I wasn't quite sure for a second. I had to let it marinate for a second.
Yes, she said, once someone shows you who they are, believe them. So I just love her energy. So she would be the fourth one. And then I would say the fifth one would be Bishop Tutu. I was very impressed with Bishop Tutu. He wrote a book about forgiveness, and he just had this beautiful spirit. And I would just love to have had some time to be able to sit and talk with such a brilliant mind.
That is
Those
a
are
powerful
my 5
list.
spots.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. There's going to be some great conversation at that table.
Definitely.
So, in case you didn't know, Dr. Brown, we have a magical time machine here in the lab. Okay, what advice would you be giving yourself from 5 years ago? So the person you are today, what advice, if you're looking back 5 years ago, what advice would you be giving them?
Okay, so I would say to my younger self 5 years ago, it's okay to focus on you. It's okay to shine your light as you are uplifting others and empowering them to shine theirs. It's okay to make space for you. It's nothing selfish about it. It's nothing, pompous about it, but you deserve, and you should be also focusing time, energy, and effort on who you are and what you're here to do. Because I've helped so many people, and I've empowered and uplifted so many people. I've made a lot of people multimillionaires. And oftentimes I didn't even think about what I needed in the midst of it. So if I had it to do over again, I would be a little more self-centered, but at the same time, still have my generous spirit of helping others.
That's good. That's good. Now we're going to fast forward the clock. We're going to make you just a little bit older. Okay. What advice is the older version of Dr. Brown? So you're 5 years older. What advice is she giving you today?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I thought we was wrapping up. Y'all ain't got me thinking now. Okay. So what would I say to myself today? I would probably say, be more in the moment. And it's very tempting as visionaries to always be thinking about down the line and what we have to get done and what we have to do. Schedule more fun. I have a coaching client who's been trying to get me to come to Belize. I have a coaching client who's been trying to get me to come to Mexico. And I've traveled the world, but I've just been basically, just pushing and working and pushing and working. And what I'm going to give you this story, and this is going to close out because this is definitely going to drive it home. I don't know if you are familiar with the comedian by the name of Country Wayne. Have you ever heard of him?
Absolutely. Big fan of Country. I've seen Country Wayne twice.
Yeah, so he came on my AM talk radio show that I had for 3 years. I had him to come as a guest. And then at the end of the show, I came out in the lobby. He was still waiting on me. And I was like, why did you wait? He was like, I don't know. Something told me to, just wait. And I said, okay. I said, well, let's go talk. And we went and talked. And he told me that he had all these followers, but he didn't know how to turn it into money. And I said, I know how to turn it into money. I said, I can turn it into money, but I have one requirement. He said, what? I said, you have to learn how to be funny without utilizing profanity. I said, if you can do that, then I will build your brand. I will help you to make thousands, if not millions, but you have to be willing to do that one thing. And he said, I'll do it. I'll challenge myself to be funny without cursing. I said, okay, good. Then I'll do the rest. And so that's exactly what I did. I started putting together, I created a logo. I had a bio written. I got an LA number, so it looked like we were big time. I got a wardrobe. I went and got these suits and had them tailored. We did photo shoots. I did we call it a ringtone. I put together his merch line. I did all these things to create all these different multiple streams of income. And I said, you just focus on being funny. So every week he had to come to my house, and my fireplace was his stage, and he had to be funny. And there were weeks he came and I said, okay, that was nasty. I'm going to go take a shower and try to forget what I heard, but come back next week and be funny. Okay. And so he came back every week and he got funnier and funnier. And we just kept building his set. We went from like 15 minutes to 20 minutes to 25 minutes to 30 minutes. And I'll never forget when we were downtown in Anniston, Alabama at a sold out theater. The people had been wrapped around the theater. And he went for 45 minutes strong and had people grabbing their sides, and tears were coming out of their eyes and laughing uncontrollably. And I fell to the floor in the back of the theater and I said, my spiritual son is a comedian now. He's a comedian finally, So that was something where I knew that I could be a blessing to him and he could be a blessing to me because he was a younger generation. And I had knowledge and information that complemented him, and he had knowledge and information that complemented me. And so I was so busy closing all these contracts, and we were getting, all these contracts that were coming in. And the funny thing is, I didn't know that a lot of comedians didn't really make serious money. Comedians that's been on like Def Jam and in movies and stuff, a lot of them are making like $800, $600, $1,000 a show. I had no knowledge of that. Thank goodness, because I was like the bumblebee. The bumblebee, according to the law of aerodynamics, is not supposed to be able to fly because of the density of its body and its little wings that it has. But because no one has told the bumblebee, he just keeps on buzzing around flying. So I was like the bumblebee. So I started him out at 2,500 a show. Then I took him up to 35. Then I took him to 45. Then we was getting 55. And then we got like 75 a show. We got up to like 10,000 a show. When we finally parted, it was around like maybe 15 to 20K a show. And contracts were coming in every single day. So I had no time to do anything because I was the only one doing, he didn't have a computer. He didn't have, he wasn't doing contracts. So I was the only one making the money come in. And Prince came to Atlanta, and I had never seen Prince. Prince's birthday is the day after my birthday. He's a June baby, just like me. You know, we're special people. Bishop Jakes, Ona Brown, Prince, all June babies. So I was like, I want to go to this show. So I called. They said they had one seat down front on the front row. I said, that's my seat. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to be in the music. I want to see him play those different instruments and hear all those amazing songs and just get lost in the music. And then they said, okay, well, come on. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I sat there and I knew I had at least 12 contracts that needed to go out. And I said, that would be kind of irresponsible. I just said, let me just stay here and do these contracts. And so little did I know that would be the last concert he did. He died like maybe 3 weeks later. So if I had it to do over again, I would have let those contracts wait because they didn't go anywhere. We were still making all kind of crazy money, and I would have took myself to that show. But I didn't know that I had a window of time. See, you got a window of time to do certain things, and once that window closes, it cannot be opened.
Yeah.
So you have to listen to the still small voice in your heart. And sometimes, let me say this, when you have to choose between your heart and your mind, go with your heart. Your heart is always right.
Woo!
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the incomparable Dr. Ona Love Brown. Again, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping into the lab with us. Visionaries, remember, each one of our guests that jump into the lab are dropping nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life. At the end of the day, my friends, it's up to you to pick them up.
ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. We'd like to say a huge thank you to Dr. Ona Love Brown for blessing us with some of her time. Her website is worldimpactnow.co, and that's .co, not .com. Visionaries, we highly suggest that you make it one of your favorites. Get the ebook. We will have information on the offering New Year, New You. Ona, thank you so much for blessing us with your time. Visionaries, we will see you guys on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.